So today, what I want to do is show you how I do hair. Um, uh, I was on an art board, and someone had asked me basically for a little bit of help on how to draw hair. They are interested in drawing pets. So what I thought I would do is basically show you the process of how I do hair. Um, First thing you want to do is you want to start with a sense of what it is. First of all, first thing you want to do is you want to pick your tools. What I'm going to recommend is you have basically three different levels of graphite. And for me, I have for the lightest, I have this is actually 4H. Okay. Then I have for the mediums, I have this, which is 2B. Now, this is actually just a cheap mechanical pencil. What I have done is a little piece of tape says 2B, so I know which one it is. I use this for things that I don't really need precision for, if you will, or high quality. So like if I'm doing detail work on a face or something like that, I would use a pencil like this more, especially since I really like that I can have a longer reach whenever I'm working, right, like this. Um, but this for something that's not as detail oriented, if you will, it works fine. I just bought some lead. It's 0.05 lead in this one. I also have I'm sorry, that's the dark one. This is 2B, this is the darks. So I've got the light 4H, dark 2B. I want something in the middle, and this is my HB. Oops, that's my 4B. I don't want 4B. I need an HB. This is my HB. Again, we're looking at a mechanical pencil, and this is actually 0.5 lead, so it's or 0.05 lead, so it's much finer. So this actually is something I use more for detail than the other. But anyway, so what I want to do is I want to think in terms of lights, mediums, and darks. Before I actually start rendering, I'm going to need first to take my light pencil, and I'm going to block out some shapes here. And this is a little odd because it's like I'm not used to this. This camera is literally right under my chin. So you're kind of seeing what I'm seeing, but I don't know how well it's going to focus. So we're hoping that this works anyway. So I'm going to block out, and we're going to pretend that this is a section. This is a 5x7 thing. We're going to pretend that this is a little section of, so it's a little bit bigger. Pretend this is a section of, say, some dog fur. And it's going to be a little bit bigger because I want to show you so you can see more details. And I don't even know if you can see that, to be honest. Let's try to turn my light like this. So now you can kind of see, I'm just blocking in shapes is all I'm doing at this point. Let's say I got this coming in, I got another one coming in here, right? And we'll have this kind of come around like this, and we'll have something kind of curl around, and a little bit more of that. So it kind of comes down to a point. So this is a little curl, that's a curl there. We'll kind of attach this curl like that. We'll take this and we'll turn it into something like this. Okay, so basically we've got some shapes for hair. That's all this is. I'm going to pick this up. Like this. And you can't, this is actually a scratch piece of paper. There's just something on the other side that didn't work. So anyway, so now I've got like a curl here, I've got a curl here, and I've got a curl here. Now, my first thing I'm going to want to do is I'm going to take my 2B and I'm going to start thinking in terms of darks. Typically, what you're going to find is the darks are in the areas where the light doesn't hit as well. And so that's going to be more on the, quote, bottom of the hair. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of make some scratches like this on what I'm going to call the bottom of the hair. Okay, so you're kind of pulling those out like that, right? And I'm using a very light stroke because I don't want to damage the tooth of my paper. So I go like this. I'm going to pull this through this, and I'm just going to kind of hit the edges a little bit too. Okay. And then so I've got this inner edge here. So I imagine that this might be a little curl in here, right? So this is the bottom here in that little curl, right, inside of there. This is kind of the bottom. I do light strokes. This doesn't have to be precise. The more stringy, actually, the better, though, because it is hair. Okay, so I'm going to do something like this. Okay, so I got my darks kind of in there. I'll pull this out like that. Okay, now what I want to do is I'm going to take my HB, which is my midtones, and I'm just going to basically start putting lines through there like this. It's a little bit willy-nilly, but you know. And I'm going to turn this like this so I wanted to keep it that way for the camera, but I'd rather do it this way. And you know, as you're doing lines like this, and then you do lines like this, it's okay that they're not all going in the same direction. In fact, because you kind of want it to be a little messier, if you will, right? Because it's hair. So I'm going to do this and this. I'm going to go back over here. Try to spin this around, actually. Like this, and work this way. All right, pull that up there. Pull that up there. Note that this comes here, all right? So we'll just pull it into there. This is a dark area. See this? This is a corner, all right? This is between the hairs, so it's a dark area. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to grab my 2B right here in this shadowed area, right down here in the shadowed area as well, all right? And because it's hair, don't think in terms of hard lines necessarily. You can kind of think in terms of it's like kind of all together still. So now, great. What I've done is I've actually done what I'm going to call the first layer. Now, first layer is here. Take this. I'm going to grab, this is just a cheapo Walmart paintbrush. I'm going to take this and I'm going to basically pull the graphite down and just brush it and just blur it. It's blending. It's a form of blending. Now, when you hit those dark areas and pull, you're pulling the darker graphite into the lighter areas, right? So your darks are actually going to start getting lighter because you're pulling the graphite off of it, right? So, and I brushed that more than I normally would. Now, my kneadable eraser, okay? What I will do with this is a kneadable eraser. It's like a little bitty putty thing. And then so what I do is, and sorry about the whole lighting thing, but I'm just going to pinch it into like a little thing. And then this isn't really all that important for accuracy. I just go with the flow where you think where the highlights are. So if you've got a reference you're working from, just go with the flow with the reference. Where are the highlights? And in this case, I'm just basically sort of following the flow of the hair because I don't have a reference. This is just a demo kind of thing. It doesn't have to be too light, or it doesn't have to be too, you don't want too thick, but it doesn't have to be so thin, really, I don't think. Because this is your lower layer. You're going to cover this all up again. So we were starting the second layer. Now that I've done that, now I take this, my lightest pencil, and I keep hitting that chord. And I think when I move things, it wants to refocus, which is helpful, generally speaking. Now I'm going to go back with my lightest pencil, and I'm going to start cutting into those light areas. Okay? So even though they're like kind of thick, because I'm using this, yes, it's like a little bitty wedge or a little bitty line maker or blade or something like that, like a knife. It's still gonna have a certain amount of width because it mushes down and slides. So what this does is this cuts it. So now it's like half as thick, and it's a really light line. Okay. So I've got the light pencil now coming in, and I'm cutting in there. And this is where I'm really working with the lights. And when you see like really cool shapes appear, that's awesome. That's the fun. Like right in here, I'm starting to see layers of hair start to appear in this. Let's see if I can pick this up. You can't, without the distraction of that thing in the back, apparently not. So there you go. I don't know if you can see it, but there's like a little section kind of appearing here, a little section appearing here. And just because I'm pulling down, and then I see that, I'm like, okay, I'm going to accent that just a little bit more, right? Again, at this point, this is a beginning stage. You don't want to put too much detail in it, and I'm probably putting more in because I'm talking, and I'm not really paying attention to what I'm doing as much. Cut through those areas that are highlighted. Okay, so I've hit the light pencil. Now I'm going to go back to the dark pencil. This is my 2B. Okay, remember we lightened it up before. because when we use the brush. So now I'm pulling it back into the dark areas. I'm coming into the dark areas, and I'm pulling back up into the light. Okay. And oh no, I went over my highlight and basically made it disappear. That's fine. This is a lower layer. Don't worry about it. Right here, pulling up again. Again, don't worry about being perfectly uniform. You kind of want some overlap and some messiness. It's hair. Right here, we got this nice little corner area. I want to bring that into the dark zone right there because that's kind of like layers under layers. Okay, but I'm gonna leave it like that. I do want a little bit in there, a little bit of something in there. Then I'm gonna pull it into this. Okay, so I'm just cutting through that white right there because it's hair. It's not plastic. So in this area here, okay, this is the bottom. Note that this cuts across here, right? Right. Now we're going to pull, this is the bottom, I'm going to pull the bottom areas up like this, just ever so slightly. It's really better if you do this. This is the way I prefer to draw. Move your paper around. Cut through like that, like that. This is my dark area over here. Pulling it in and up. Okay. Now what I will do, and I really did do more of that 2B than I wanted to. This is my HB. I'm going to come in with my HB, which is my medium value. I'm going to start pulling up into areas with this. Okay, again, pulling out those cool sections that are appearing, taking advantage of the accidents. I saw a Bob Ross mug the other day on Facebook, and it said something, it's a really cool mug, and it said something to the effect of, we don't make mistakes, we have happy accidents. And I just like, that's become my motto, I think. So, pull that up there, a little bit here, a little bit there, pulling in slightly different direction, right? Okay, so now we've done the eraser highlights, we've done the darks again with the 2B. We did the eraser highlights, then we cut through the eraser highlights with the lightest pencil, which in this case is the 4H. Then we went straight to the darks, which is the 2B, right? And then we kind of took the darks and lights, the dark 2B and the light 4H, and we sort of brought them together with the HB, right? Now, that's the second layer. So what do? We brush it again. Now, I like to pull the darks into the lights, right? Slight brushes. This is a light tap and pull. As I go up layers, I'm becoming a little bit more picky about how I brush. Okay, so this is the first layer now, or the second layer. Now that's done. I wipe my brush off on this piece of paper over here, which you can't see, to kind of get some of that graphite out of there. And then, oh, it's my oven. Hopefully I don't burn my food while I'm doing this. We do it again. I'm going to grab this. So I'm going to go through this kind of quickly because we've already done it once. And I'm going to start pulling out highlights. And now that you've got all of this, this graphite kind of on there, now the highlights are going to start looking a lot cooler. Right? Just pulling those like that. Again, not necessarily always in the same direction, a little bit different directions here and there. Cut across. And that's part of the fun, cutting across and suddenly like, oh, that's really neat. I do want to hit this little area right in here though. And again, what have we done? We've done the brushing, we've done the kneadable highlight, we go to the light cut throughs, which is your 4H, right? And I start cutting through. And it's really easier right now for me to do this on this side. And again, now I'm starting to pull out shapes. Okay, turn this around so I can get this side. Cutting up. Right. Cut down. Cut across, because I like that across there. Cut up. Cut through. Okay, that's your lights. Go to your darks. Now you're starting to pull the darks up more intentionally. Okay. Whereas before it was much more haphazard. The higher up we get, the closer to the top we get, the more intentional we become. Because we're hiding the lower layers. The lower layers are being obscured by the higher layers. Right? So we got that. That's a little shadow there because this is kind of curling over now. So I'm going to pull that there. I know that there's a space under there, but it's, again, it's just, now we've done our cut throughs, we've done our darks, light cut throughs. Now we're going to pull the HB. Oops. Okay, I cut that too dark. That's okay. I'm gonna blend that a little bit. I'm just gonna fuzzy it out a little bit. And we're gonna use that again. It's just a happy accident. It's not a mistake. Great things can happen when you think you've screwed up. And for this, again, this is one of the reasons why I like the mechanical for this, because it's sharp. I like the sharpness. Okay. We're going to adjust that. If you have a section that you kind of want to like, oh man, I don't know about that. What do I do with that? You know, go ahead and you can work a small section like this. See how this kind of got bigger than I wanted it? I'm just going to tap here, lighten that a little bit, and we're going to use it. Just use that like that a little bit. Okay. I'm going to cut through with HBs here. You can see I'm actually going off the grain, I guess you could call it, for right there. And that's okay. Giving you a sense of depth, right? Okay, so what do we got here? Okay, there's that. Now, we've done our kneadable eraser highlight. We've done our cut through with our lightest pencil. We've done our darks. And I'm going to do some more darks here because it looks like it's not pulling like I want it to. Dark, dark, dark. And don't be afraid of darks. I love darks. The contrast is so much for me. And so now, what do? We do it again. Light brushing this time. And versus light brushing. Okay, now this time we use the mono zero eraser. So this is like the fourth layer, I think. So now what I'm going to do is let me sharpen this. The way I tend to sharpen it is just like this. You can cut it too, but it's just then I got to get the knife out and then I got to, yeah, got to get the knife out and cut it off, and that's just faster. So now what I'm going to do here is just grab where I think the highlight should be, like that. Sometimes a little bit random directions. Kind of follow what you've already got going on there. You can pull both ways, actually. I prefer pulling dark to light myself. Yeah, let's do this. Another. And vary the pressure, just like a pencil. I try not to put too much pressure on it if possible, but Okay, so I've got that. Now we go back to the 4. We cut through again. More intentional, kind of helping, really it's really helping to pull those highlights out largely. So I'm kind of hitting on mainly on the side, but I'm also cutting through here and there. So it's, again, this is the last layer we're doing, so it's going to be the most intentional layer. Right here I want to blend that in just a little bit, so I cut through. And then that's kind of a sharp, abrupt ending there. I don't like the abrupt ending on that end, so there you got that. I want to pull this down or up. And then this one I want to pull up too, just because, well, it just looks odd to end like that. Cutting through. When you cut through like here, it's just, it adds a certain texture to it. It's like, it looks more natural, basically, to me. Highlighting those key areas, or highlighting the key, emphasizing the key areas by underlining them. Like cutting, like in this area, like for example, there's a little highlight there. I don't know if you can see it. I'm going to cut alongside that highlight. That pops it out a little bit like a shadow. Okay. And then to do this other side, we're going to do this. And again, pull from the darks. I like that highlight right there. That one's right there. You can hit sections like that to kind of give a sense of indentation. And cut through there like that. And so anyway, that's let's see if we can do this without the, move this to the back. There, yeah. So that's kind of what it looks like when it's all said and done. You would have to modify, obviously, for your picture. This is kind of for like longer hair, longer like fur, something like that on a dog. But once I've got that final highlight, and if I want, I can still go through and I can touch it up. I can still go through, grab my mono. That's not my mono 0, that's a pencil. My Tombow Mono 0 and kind of hit some more highlights if I really want to. I prefer that not be the last thing to do, though. But you can if you want to. I mean, it's up to you. I mean, if you like the look of that, then go for it. Just tap and draw. So anyway, that's it. And until next time, go draw hair.